we certainly believe in this nation, which was why my head was just getting bigger and bigger when I saw our Olympics team yesterday. This is the only country that we have.
Absolutely.
So we will defend our land. No matter how bad it is still our country. And it's the only one we have. Talking about the only one we have, local government elections are happening out there. And like we said at the beginning of the program, it would be very nice for you all to go out there and make your voices heard, make your votes count. We keep complaining about government did this, government did that, but we are the ones who put government there. We did the voting. So, make your vote count. Go out there.
And if you don't vote, you have voted.
Well, yes, because whoever is there, you can't complain.
Absolutely.
Good. Meanwhile, Sheung Okimbaloye is on the field waiting to tell us exactly what is going on out there. Sheung, good morning.
I'm fine, Alara, and welcome to Ojodu Primary School in the Ojodu LCDA of Lagos. It's somewhat supposed to be a highly populated area of Ojodu area, not so far from the Ikeja area, which is the capital city of Lagos State. But we will say that this exercise is starting pretty much behind schedule. The exercise is supposed to begin at about 8 a.m. but the materials and the officials for this election didn't arrive until about 10 minutes before 9 p.m. That's about 50 minutes late. 50 minutes late for the election to start, but they should have been here before 8 a.m. but they arrived just before 9 a.m. But let me give you an understanding of what is happening down there. There are two polling units, polling unit 012 and polling unit 013. Polling unit 013 is just behind me, and just let me show you, just on this other side of these premises is polling unit 013. So there are two polling units here, and some of the voters are trickling in one after the other. Some of them have been waiting, and if you look just far beyond, you will see that there are voter register already on the wall. Don't forget that that is the same register used for the 2019 election, which is going to be used for this election. The same register INEC used for the election is what last year the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission will be using for these local government elections. So that is what they're relying on, and if you can see that, so just behind me are some of the voters who have just arrived. And if I take you back here on this other polling unit, they're just giving some kind of information for the voters. So what you start with is some kind of enlightening of the voters on what to do, on how to go about it. They came earlier, they set up the cubicle. This is where the voting will be done. In this cubicle, it's supposed to be an open secret ballot system where the voter will come behind this cubicle, thumbprint on the ballot paper, and thereafter come towards this area. And there are two boxes, because don't forget there is a legislative election and executive election, the councillorship seat, and of course the ballot for the ballot box for the councillorship seat, and the one for the chairmanship positions. And there are several kinds of security operatives that you can find, from the police, Nigerian police, to the Lagos State Neighborhood Security Corps, the Neighborhood Watch. They're all here. Let me allow you to see what is happening. If you can come closer so we can see what the official is doing.
And this is for the chairman. This is the first one. Like you can all see, it is blank. There's nothing on it. Brand new. This is the second one. Can you see? Okay. Brand new. And this is the third one.
So pretty much, well, the official is showing off the ballot papers that are being not tampered with just yet. And so all the materials that are going to be used for the election, the ballot papers, the ballot sheet, and if you can see, it's an election that is supposed to be under the guidance of the COVID-19 protocols. Face mask, and you can see the officials are in their into gloves also, and the card reader machine, which is also going to be used.
So we just put it on right now in your presence. It is off. Can you see? So that's everything we got for today's election.
All right. So you can see also the sanitizer, the thermometer for testing the voters. And we're supposed to have everybody pretty much on their face mask. See, one of the agents is not on his face mask. It's an election that is supposed to be strictly on the guidance of the COVID-19 protocol. This is an election that is starting pretty much behind schedule. Alero, Ayo, that is the situation we have right here. This is our first stop at the Ojodru Primary School, Unit 012 and Unit 013. Starting behind schedule, a handful of voters who have called in here. A few of them have come here, but since they didn't find any official, they left. Perhaps some of them are living around this area. We'll find them back in another few minutes. But that's the situation. It's just about 9:30 a.m. here in Lagos, and the local government election is just getting to a sluggish start.
Sean, just before you go, what is the process for the voter? So he goes there, checks for his name on the voter register that is pasted on the wall, and then what does he do?
So, sorry, if you can take that again, Alera, so I can hear you clearly.
I said from the point of view of the voter, he arrives at the polling station, he checks for his name on the register that's on the wall, right? If he finds his name on that wall, what does he do next?
Oh, great. So, very good question, Alera. So, this is an example of what happens when voters come. This is the very first point of call. This is a first stop. So, if the camera comes slightly closer, you can see the voter register here with the names on it, because the only body in Nigeria allowed for election register is INEC. So they have the register. So when you check the register here and you can find your name, then you go with your permanent voter card or your temporary voter card up onto the voting unit. The first stop here, you check for your name and your number. If it correlates or corresponds, then you now take that and go to the polling officer. Just let me show you quickly what you do next. There is a corresponding voter register right here. They have a similar record of what is on the wall right here, which the voter has to use, and now they have to use the card reader machine to match what you see to authenticate your biometric. So you have to have all of this before you can get be allowed to vote. So that is pretty much what you're going to do when you get here, Alero. It's pretty much straightforward. Nothing too far away from what we see in the general elections.
Okay, thank you.
But just before I let you go, Sho, I don't know what you think of the roads right now you're going to be traversing. There was a lot of traffic before 8 o'clock this morning, and there's supposed to be no movement on the roads between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. How do you see the road? How was the road before you got to where you are now? And since it's 9:30, you say now, what's the road like? What's the road like?
Pretty much free, Ayo. I mean, for those who, if you live in London, New York, if you live in Lagos, you pretty much have an idea of what roads will be like in a commercial city like Lagos on a Saturday, but is pretty much empty. It takes an average of 20-30 minutes to drive from the Channels TV headquarters to this kind of place, but it took us less than 10 minutes to drive. Just you can give you a sense of how fast you can move on the road. The roads are free. There are checkpoints by the police officers who are not allowing the free movement. If you're not allowed on the road, if you're not on essential duty, if you're not a journalist, if you're not on election duty, you're not allowed to move. So pretty much the roads are free, and it's going to be like that for the next few hours until about 3 p.m. when the roads will be thrown open. Don't forget, we're at the corridor of the city, at the border of the city, where we can see people moving in and out. As early as 6 a.m. when I got to the office this morning, there are pretty much a lot of people who are trying to get out of town early, those who are traveling and making their way out. Aside that, the roads are now very much distorted, and people are just moving in the inner roads of the city.
Well, just one more thing. Is this in any way likely to encourage people to come out to vote? Because part of the reason that I believe the Lagos State government said no movement, and maybe Ogun State as well, is that maybe it'll encourage people to go out and perform their civic responsibilities. Do you see that happening, given the spate of voter apathy over the years?
Absolutely, look, let's be frank with ourselves. A lot of Nigerians talk about what they want government to do for them. They clamor for the kind of things they want to see, developmental issues, governance issues. But the role of an average citizen is to participate in selecting, electing those who will govern them. When you do not come out on a day like this, you are depriving yourself of having a say in who governs you. And this is the closest government to the people, the local government. And this is the only opportunity you have to be part of that exercise. It's looking pretty much free. No fear of insecurity or any kind of violence. That as much as we were been promised by the police and LASIEC in this election. And usually people get registered pretty much very close to where they live. So there is no excuse for people not to go out. If you cannot move to work or do any other thing, why not just come out and vote? Exactly. Lagos State is a commercial hub, the nerve center of the nation. It's important that citizens who live in Lagos or from Lagos participate in these elections. It's very important.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll let you go for now, but we'll be coming back to you for updates as the program goes along. Thank you very much. Cheum Okinbaloye at Ojodu polling center.
That's one. Well, he talked about no violence, no likely threats of violence, and that's a good place for us to start this conversation this morning. The diverse security threats that we've been having, because we all know that we have faced with unprecedented wave of all kinds of overlapping security crises in the nation, from kidnapping to extremist insurgencies to abduction of children from schools and stuff like that. We could go on and on. Now, of course, some have linked the recent upsurge of insecurity to poverty, youth unemployment, and the figures are just out there in our faces. But what will tomorrow bring? Let's start from today. This conversation is being had with two people in the security sector. Olatunbo Bolarinwa is a security expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma, retired, is a former Navy intelligence officer. Thank you very much for being here.
Happy you invited me.
Okay, let's begin with you, Mr. Bolarinwa. Did we see this coming? I ask that because, I would naturally assume that so long as there is a government in place, there is always that understanding of the larger picture. This has been with us for quite a while. So is it shocking that this is happening? And why is it that we seem not to be able to put it in check?
Well, thank you very much for directing that question to me. The first question is that, did we see this coming? This has been here, it's not coming. So we need to correct that impression. We have a big problem pitching or docking on our domain.
When I say, did you see it coming?
Yeah.
My apologies. A question that was along the line of that it will still be with us for so long.
It's going to be insecurity that is not properly checked or properly managed. We shouldn't deceive ourselves that it's going to go away or it's going to get better. We should come to terms with the reality that you did mention government and governance. So all this thing has to do with how we manage the type of insecurity we have over the years. And you and myself can be the judge. If it is well managed from beginning, are we going to be where we are today? I just saw a news flash today, which is a topic that we have discussed in this studio before. I saw the Navy carrying pirates to court. Pirates are doing what other criminals are doing on land, on the sea. and the Navy did with their modus operandi, carried out an operation, made an arrest, and we had that about 12 or 15 pirates are being taken to court. So I want to say that is a final product. Navy were able to carry out their operation on sea, and they are carrying the criminals to where they are supposed to be.
So you would like to see that happening on land?
I would like to see that happening on land. I want to know why is the Nigerian army not doing the same? Why are the Nigerian army talking about reintegration of criminals who have committed crime against people in the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the Constitution that is controlling both the Navy, the Air Force, the police, the civil defense, and the army, and the DSS? Why are the rest of all these people not taking people to court? If one wing of the military is taking people to court, that is the Navy, why are the army dressing up criminals in white garments, sending pictures to us and telling us that they are reintegrating them or rehabilitating them? And that is a question that the government needs to answer. It is all about governance. It is all about the quality of governance that we use to manage insecurity that brought us to where we are today.
Are you suggesting that there is some kind of double standard somewhere?
Of course, there is double standard. If in Kaduna State, bandits are just a kind of businessmen, whereas in the eastern part of Nigeria, agitators, people we refer to as criminals, are being met with serious military firepower. And the people who want to rise up to defend their farmland in order for them to put food on their table
How does that
are being arrested.
How does that contribute to worsening security?
I'll answer that question. The people that are not allowed to defend their farmlands, so they couldn't produce anything in the farm, they couldn't feed their family on the table, may end up taking arms to copy their fellow businessmen in Kaduna State. For instance, if the business is booming in Kaduna State, according to the executive governor of Kaduna State, if the bandits who are killing people, maiming people, stealing things from people, making life difficult of them are a kind of business, what makes you think that the people in the southwestern Nigeria...
Are you saying that the governor of Kaduna State approves banditry in Kaduna State?
I didn't say approve, so I don't want you to quote me as approve.
When you say
but he was asked a question: what is the difference between the criminal in the north, the bandits, and the like of the agitators or criminals in the southwest? He said that the bandits in Kaduna State are some kind of businessmen. They are doing some kind of business, carrying people, killing people, and exchanging them for money. It is a kind of business, according to him.
Even though it's illegal.
Even though it's illegal. So what standard of government is operating in the northern part of Nigeria and against insecurity, and what kind of governance is operating in the southwestern part of Nigeria against the type of criminals we have there? Is it double? Is it single? Are we getting it right? That is the question we need to start asking ourselves.
Commander, What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the problem has refused to go away because we're not being decisive in our action?
Yes, and I think it has to do with the failure to understand the root cause of the security situation. Unless we are able to link the fact that over 100 million Nigerians are destitute. Imagine someone sleeping on the streets, on bare ground, exposed to the elements, you know, and then waking up, there is no water to even drink. You know, a sachet of pure water now is about 20 naira, so no water to drink, and no food in the stomach, no hope in the mind. And you know, that kind of a person, it's you know, desperate. They say anyone who has nothing to protect is a very dangerous person.
Yeah.
You know, desperate. People will look for opportunities where law and order, you know, has been cast aside, you know, so that they can loot. You know, I just discovered that this looting of a thing happened even in in Denmark, one of these countries you rate first, second, and third, you know, by way of standard of living. So, if people do not have the basic needs, you know, we have to see that in the first world, for instance, even in the United States, government is putting money, so much money in the hands of people, and they are not even willing to work. Do you know that? Nigerians should know that government is so kind. You know, they have printed so much money. You know, President Biden has given people so much money, putting so much money into their hands that some people feel comfortable not to work. That's the kind of economy they run. And here, we print money, according to the governor of Edo State, who has been a banker before, and we have said that if an individual
has already been debunked by government.
Well, we Nigerians, you know, we go online, we read books. Milton Friedman, one of the greatest philosophers, economists. In fact, his ideas brought United States, you know, at the end of the last century, America was at its top because of the ideas he gave. He exposed all these wonderful economic terms that economists will come and speak to you. At the end, you are more confused. He spoke to us in an everyday language that, look, there has never been any inflation without the central bank printing money. And there has, in history, never been a situation where the printing of money stopped and the fortunes of the people did not improve. And why was it that, you know, in fact, that was the only time I saw the central bank governor sweating and attacking. You know, one of the best forms of defense is to attacking, you know. And this reminds me of what happened, you know, in 1999, when, if we remember, most states couldn't even pay their salaries. And that was when the central bank governor intervened, you know, and gave them money. Now, if I, as an individual, I print money without producing anything, that's counterfeiting.
Yes.
And that's collecting money from the public without, you know, it's illegal. But why do we think, in order to build an economy, it's no more by savings, it is by printing money? So we need to realize that the kinds of policies, economic policies that we churn out, they create poverty.
Commander, you know, let me ask you this. I mean, gratifying to say that, to know that you are, you know, a former intelligence officer, so you would know these things. I asked Mr. Bolanowa the other time, didn't we see this coming? I'm asking because by way of intelligence gathering, there are some things that I would assume is supposed to be a given. There are some things which we're just supposed to know ahead. For instance, did we see poverty coming? I mean, you talked about just 20 years ago. I'm looking back to the Second Republic, where the government of the day at the time declared austerity measures. Okay, I mean, that's as far back as what? How many years now?
That's 30 years.
That's, you know, so did we see this coming? Did we see a time in Nigeria where, you know, poverty figures would be this serious? And what did we do as a nation and as state governments to get ahead of this kind of situation?
You know, essentially, I want to tell you that what is wrong consistently, what has been wrong, is our way of thinking. For example, as a military man, in fact, if you go throughout history, how you bring down your enemy is to circle him round and prevent him from going out or coming in. In fact, at a stage, if you read your Bible, I think 1 Kings 23 or so, when a city was circled, I think the Assyrians circled Jerusalem, women ate their own children. Now imagine a government headed by a military man closing the borders. I think I tried on this channel, you know, to show that if you want to develop a country, you open up the system, free markets. Many economists have come to deceive us that China made progress because they closed that system, which is a big lie. Anyone can go online now and check. When Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao, closed China, an estimate of 56 million people died or were killed. But it was in the late 70s when this Deng Xiaoping, or one of the leaders whose name I cannot recollect fully now, he came and opened the system. So open systems make for progress. Closed systems, how was the Biafran war won and lost? It's because that system was closed. So one of the mistakes we have made and we keep on making is to close the system and not allow people to use their intellect, to use their business acumen to make money. Government is the one that chooses those who win and lose. Look at what's happening in the sugar industry, for example. You choose 3 people to give them foreign exchange. Why don't you allow the people to compete? One other thing that I've been trying to bring to the knowledge of most of my friends is to see that currency controls are also wrong. You know, right from after the Second World War up to 1980s, they had the system which we are practicing now, where the central bank will be in charge of all the currency. They had it in the UK until Margaret Thatcher came in the 80s and stopped it. Now, if you now, I remember Henry Boyo, you know, that man was one of the leaders that Nigeria should have listened to, because he preached save the naira, save the economy. The simplest way to destroy any economy is to devalue the naira. Look, in the 80s, or is it 70s, a whole Volkswagen assembly plant was built with 8 million naira. 8 million that you cannot buy a second-hand vehicle with. With 8 million naira today, what will 8 million naira do for you? So we have to see where we are getting it wrong. Most of the economic policies tend towards impoverishing the people. You were mentioning gas. You know, I was even telling my people yesterday that when my gas at the site, you know, got finished. You know, the second I was thinking of going to buy it. Why didn't I go and buy it? You know, I waited and now I have to buy it about twice the amount. So the kind of economic policies we make should be, you know, in favor of the people. And for this, I think that the members of the National Assembly, who are the true representatives of the people, should not just sit down. You know, I believe that the spending power, you know, of any economy belongs to the National Assembly.
But you know, just forgive me for butting in. You've talked about the federal government. The states have authority over all of the land. I don't know if that is in any contention. And I think I remember it was one of our guests here earlier that said, I think it was Tokwe Fasha that was saying, of all of Nigeria's landmass, just about 20% is in use for anything of our landmass in Nigeria. And I also recall the president saying at a recent engagement that he was surprised to hear that only 2.5% of Nigeria's land space is being used for agriculture. And of course, naturally, that's shocking and very disturbing. Isn't there anything the states themselves can do? Because the federal government has citizens, as I always say. The state governments have the indigents. So it's the state governments that should actually champion agriculture, don't you think?
The state governors, the state governments that make it difficult for you to get your land papers. Remember what, was it Hernando de Soto, that economist that came to tell them that, look, one of the major differences between the first world and third world is that in the first world you could easily get papers, based on what you have. You could get papers even for a bicycle.
Yeah.
And you can use it to get your money. Imagine these governors who make it difficult for you to get your land papers. Are they the governors that would bring forth ideas? Because it's supposed to be a marriage actually between the state governments and the federal government. If the federal government, for example, realizes, if the state governments, for example, realize that they need tractors, for example, for farming, why don't they tell the federal government, look, cancel all customs duties
on tractors.
Let us have these tractors come in.
Yes.
So it's not here. It's neither here nor there. We need leaders. It's from the heart. Even if you have a terrible constitution, though I don't accept that this constitution we have is okay, but even if you have a terrible constitution, but the hearts of the leaders is towards the people. Leadership is about making people happy.
Okay.
Mr. Barnaba, another reason for this gross insecurity that we have is rural-urban drift. More and more youth are finding absolutely nothing to do in the rural areas. So they're surging into the cities. Like, forget every day, every minute. They come into the city and they are not employable. The ones that are employable cannot find jobs. So what do? They survive somehow. They live on the streets, as they say, robbing people, kidnapping people. What can be done to, thank you,
Gentlemen,
to reduce that influx?
I think the answer to that question lies in the question itself. And I want to go back to what my honorable colleague just said. The heart of the government, or whoever that is put in position
at all levels,
really needs to go towards developing whatever they give to you. You are not elected to start complaining. I'm a kind of leader in the community where I hailed from. And one of my major problems that I'm facing at the moment are the number of young people that wants to leave the community to come to the city, and the number of elderly people that are begging me for food, for money for food and medicine. And it wasn't like that before. These are people that they just greet me and want to know that I'm okay. They have their farmlands where they farm. They plant it.
But they can't go to the farms anymore.
But they cannot go to the farm anymore. I think in my community, only one person has been killed by a suspected herdsman issue. And that sent the fear across. So what I'm trying to do now is to embolden the people to go back to the farm. And that is what local government, state government has failed to do. What security are we providing for these people? Among these people you are talking about, there are people that are completely skillless.
Yeah.
And for instance, in Lagos State now, I don't know how the governor or what the government want to do about it. Everybody was laughing when the governor in Zamfara bought 1,000 or 2,000 wheelbarrow for their unemployed indigents. We were laughing at them. Now those wheelbarrows are on Lagos Street. Not only on Lagos Street, they can even access inner part of Lagos where motorcycle and vehicle cannot go. Pushing groceries, pushing fruits, peppers, and everything, name it, into all those places. And the governors we were laughing at in the north knew that the youth that are going to disturb the street of northern state, the youth that Boko Haram are going to entice to join them, if you give them wheelbarrow, they will end up in Lagos and they will start carrying load and selling things, and it solves its own problem. Whereas Lagos state government is waiting, seeing them, scratching our cars, disturbing the market of people who are selling things inside there, and they are not paying rent tax to anybody. So now we want to ask, what is the mind?
If you don't mind me, butting in, you raised a couple of crucial issues in this response that you've given.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you've talked about the fact that a government is aware of what the problem is of bandits being enticed with money. There was a report, front page report of one of these newspapers once that said that bandits and insurgents are recruiting jobless youths.
Yes.
With money. Before you even start doing
20,000.
anything, 20,000 naira. Yeah. Before you even do anything, you get 20,000 naira to get employed. And which I think it was the colloquium, the Bola Tinubu colloquium of I think March this year, that Bola Tinubu himself was saying that, look, it seems that the federal government is competing with bandits to recruit jobless people. It was shocking to see, but the president attended that event, though virtually, and a number of dignitaries were there at that event as well. So I'm just wondering, we know that these things are there.
Yeah.
And unless we solve the problem of unemployment where people reside, this rural-urban migration is not going to end.
Yeah.
So what can we do? What should the governors or state governments be thinking about to solve the problem in their localities for themselves? Because if people who can work in their states continue to leave, there is no manpower to develop that state.
Yes, what can the government do? The government really need to do what my colleagues said earlier on. The first thing is that you should open up. The government of Lagos State or Ogun State or Osun State shouldn't be about Osun State alone. Osun State, the corn, maize being produced in Osun State is not enough to feed the people of Osun State. The gari that is being produced in Ogun State and the popular Ijebu gari is not enough. So where are the silos? Why, if I'm the Lagos State governor now,
good point,
why don't I have a silo huge enough to accommodate corn? Instead of wheelbarrow coming from Zamfara, Adamawa and other places, but why can't we empower these people? All these people pushing wheelbarrows around Lagos, can we empower them in Lagos to go back and farm maize and come back and bring it and we store it in our silos?
You said if you were the governor, you would have a huge silo.
Yeah.
And you would store corn. Where would you get your corn from?
That is what I'm trying to say now, that let government look inward and take advantage of all these people that are bringing wheelbarrows, all these people that are bringing shoemaker and other medicine. They are practical farmers. All these people that wants to leave the village, and ask them, what can you do? Everybody naturally, my family are natural families of farmers. I don't know where they learn it from, but I know that my grandfather don't buy pepper. I don't know how he dries his tomato, but he will bring it out. So why not take advantage of this? Why not open the border up and bring all these people together? Okay. You can go. A governor can go. A governor in Lagos State or Osun State or your state can go to Zamfara and buy 60 acres of land.
Before I go to Commodore, remember when the former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola was governor. He tried to remove area boys from the streets and put them in centers where they could learn vocational trade.
Yes.
I think Marwa started.
Do you recall how many of them actually ran away from those vocational centers? They didn't want to learn anything. They preferred to hang out on the streets and harass you and harass me.
Yes.
Continue being area boys.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Or there was a reason for that.
Okay.
The reason for that was that whatever you are putting together, you should know that it comes at a price. Did you, after you had that, these centers that these children were taken into, because I'm going to give you, there's a center like that just beside my house in London. Now, I was wondering why am I being disturbed by noises of youth, but I discovered that a landmass that is becoming a problem to the community in Hammersmith was divided into a vocational center and recreation center. So half of it, you learn whatever you want to learn, and I was amazed. This type of earring you are wearing can actually be produced in that small space. They are teaching teenagers how to use this. I saw somebody that started using newspaper to make jewelries in that same place. But at the same time, they understand that they are youths and their heart of commitment in them is not just. Some of them are still dreaming that they want to become like David Beckham. So they created a sports center that, okay, you come here for 3 hours to learn how to make jewelries.
And you go play.
And then after 2 hours of learning, you can still play. You can play with computers. You can play with ping pong, table tennis. You can play with basketball. Somebody from sports ministry will come and train you how to fire a shot that nobody can catch. So you engage the children. What did we engage them to? What food are we feeding them with?
So who is going to teach them how to catch a ball that nobody should be able to catch? That's all.
I have said that what is consistent is that our way of thinking is wrong.
Yeah.
There is no way any economy can make progress by just focusing on agriculture, this peasant farming. In fact, progress in agriculture means having fewer people. You know, you introduce mechanized. Yes. Do you know that one day, just a documentary, the number of oranges one single farmer in the United States, was farming. You can imagine 23 trailers being pushed into the factory, that would turn it into
Juice.
Yeah, juice. So one farmer in the United States can farm more than 3 states of these peasant farmers. So if you truly want to make progress, if you want to create jobs, in fact, you cannot create jobs. It's actually reduce. You are going to reduce the number of people that go into the production. Because if you listen to the Israeli president, for example, he tells you that they have now developed the agricultural sector to the point that they even know the number of drops of water that each plant would need. So you need the mental capacity. You cannot continue to use peasant farmers. In fact, one of the problems that we have that is linked to security is because look at the cattle that we breed. The size, the liters of milk they give, everything about it is wrong. So we need to change our way of thinking, even to apply it to agriculture if we want to make progress.
Okay.
The other thing I saw is that government anywhere cannot organize an economy. Economy, the basis of economy is the household, is the individual. Anytime government tries to direct the economy in a particular way, it is not based on what the people desire or what skills or talents the people have. So if I don't want to be a farmer, but you force me to be a farmer. I don't want to be a welder, but you now force me to be a welder. It's not going to work.
Can I? You've talked about policy repeatedly here, and you continue to talk about what the people want and all of that. I remember we had this conversation with Professor Akin Oyubo, the Emeritus Professor of International, and he said, perhaps one of the challenges we have as a nation is that there is no national direction. No national ethos, no national vision that, okay, as a country, this is the direction we're all facing, so all our banking, our agriculture, our education, our everything should focus in that direction. What do you think of that?
Yeah. For example, I've had Professor Patu Tomit talk about South Korea. In fact, the last vessel that I worked on, I worked on that vessel for 10 years, was made in South Korea. South Korea is one of those countries that decided that one way they could make progress is through shipbuilding. Now, talking about shipbuilding, if we were to do that, supposing it was our idea also, because I read an article recently that part of the idea was to make vessels and cars from the Ajaokuta. Now, in a nation that is riddled with corruption, for example, how can we make progress? Even if we had that idea at the beginning, that this is the direction to go. You know, so for some countries that may be more homogeneous than us, such ideas could work, but even then it gets to a limit. You know, that country today is known for some kind of phone. You know, I use the kind of phone also. It's known for shipbuilding. You know, once you realize, I think that's one of the things we are getting wrongly. Once you realize that the greatest asset a nation has is its people, you see, there is no way if you had introduced free and compulsory education throughout Nigeria, you know, for maybe 3 decades, there is no way the level, you know, of our thinking wouldn't have been higher than what it is today. It's more difficult to deceive someone who has gone to school that, see this one, he is from this tribe, or see this one, he's from this
faith. That's another, my apologies, and that's another challenge that we've had. Ethno-religious conflicts over time. I'm just wondering, if we had a national ethos, would those things matter?
That is why you need a visionary. You mentioned, the moment you mentioned that word, I was elated within me, because if you have a leader who has seen a vision of one Nigeria and will not put his ethnic background first or religious background, if you have a leader who, and we lost that one in Abiola, because if you remember, Abiola won even in Kano. Ibrahim Tofa was from Kano, or is from Kano. Abiola won. So we had started, you know, being brought together. National integration has started working for us until the self-styled evil genius himself, you know, broke that trend. So we need a leader who himself has seen a vision of one Nigeria, is able to communicate that one Nigeria to us by his word and action. Then and only then, you know, will we begin to see ourselves, you know, without all this.
Can I just add something to what he said? The word united at the back of United Kingdom for a very long time was just there. The Scottish don't like the English. The Irish don't like the English. The Welsh thought that, well, they just have no choice, but they are a country on their own with another language. And I think towards the end of Margaret Thatcher's regime, they realized, during the beginning of Tony Blair, they realized that integration and diversity is one of the best way to go back, because the problem they had on their hand as at then was not about all these other ethnic minority that joined them, but
integration and diversity. Integration and diversity is in our constitution.
It is in our constitution.
Section 15.
One thing is for it to be in your constitution. Another thing is for it to be in everything you do.
In your being.
If you obtain an application form from Abbey National or National Westminster Bank now, it will be written. There is almost 3 pages section where you will fill in to test your level of integration and diversity. Can you work with gays? Can you work with people of other region and other this thing? And the answer you give will determine whether you get that job or not. Which means that they even took it out of the governance into private sectors.
To practice.
You just have to employ the disabled. You can't have a company without having a complete disabled person. You must find one. In a company, not on the street. You must find an albino. You must find somebody from other part of the world.
On this same unity issue, let me ask Commander John, because I mean, you've been in the military. One of the things that I believe was the ethos of the military, or still is the ethos of the military, is unity, because soldiers come from every part of the nation. Now, I see in section 15 sub 3A, sub 3 says, for the purpose of promoting national integration, it shall be the duty of the state, that's talking about government, to A, provide adequate facilities for and encourage free mobility of people, goods and services throughout the nation. Over the years and from your experience, how would you say we have fared in this department?
We have tried so many things, like the National Youth Service, you know, and, you know, one thing is you could have it on paper that, oh, Nigerians should be this and that and that. But in reality, You know, do we, you know, when you, in fact, when you mentioned one word, I said our constitution, you know, that's a lie. You know, if you give me bananas, for example, I reject it and I say it doesn't agree with my constitution, it means that my body, it's not in tune with my body. So a constitution should be what the people want, what the people have agreed upon. Now, my wife, for example, before we came together, we had to agree on certain things. We're going to have this number of children, we're going to stay here, we're going to do this. Now, if two people need to sit down and work things out, these details, how do you want to manage the kind of diversity we have, you know, by forcing down the throat, you know, the people? So for me, we are really living a big lie. First of all, Nigeria is not a federation. Another thing is, Nigeria is not a republic. If you say Nigeria is a republic, why are we uplifting and paying all these traditional rulers, we call them traditional rulers, money? Does that mean that they are on a higher, their families are on a higher level than the other families? In a republic, you don't have monarchical system. They don't exist together. So Nigeria is neither a federation nor and it's not even a nation. You have a Yoruba nation, you have Ijaw nation. You
have just given the National Assembly some work now, and I think I'm going to take a list and send to them. But right now, this conversation is definitely unending. Clearly, we've talked about the threats to our nation. We've mentioned quite a number of things: ethno-religious conflicts, perception. We've talked about the perception of government, rural-urban drift, and this issue of integration, joblessness, and all of that. But gentlemen, we have to thank you very much this morning, and just trust that we are making progress, albeit extremely slowly. Olatubo Apolarinwa is a security expert. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much for having me.
As well as Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma, retired, a former Navy intelligence officer. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So up next is the next issue, of course. Why are you laughing?
Oh,